Hello, 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 everybody. Happy Wednesday. It is another Wednesday Wisdom. Time to get wise. I am so excited for any of y'all that don't know me already. I'm Tony King. I have the incredible honor of being the designated broker for eXp Realty for the great state of Texas and all 9,137 agents as of this morning. But one of them is super special, and she's joining me today. She's one of my all time favorites, and I'm not even going to belabor her incredible list of credentials and accomplishments and just how incredible she is. I will let her do that. But there is only one and only Queen Elizabeth Riley. Please introduce yourself to anybody that doesn't know you.
Oh my
I think
gosh.
there may be like three people in all of Texas that don't know you, but go ahead, please.
Oh my gosh. You're awesome, Tony. Thanks for having me here. That's always fun. It's like, oh, okay, go introduce yourself and talk about yourself. Who's good at that? I'm not good at talking about myself, but a little bit about me. I've been licensed 18 years. I've been with almost 18 years. I've been with EXP for 7.5. I love this company. I love this industry. I'm a top producer here in Austin. I'm a top producer within EXP. I have 7 icon awards under my belt, and I'm almost to number 8. So, yeah, I just love to pour into others, give back, and watch us all, grow and climb and lift others as I climb and build each other up and just be great at what we're doing here in this industry.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Elizabeth. And what I love most about you is that you're just super, super humble. And you don't like talking about all of your accomplishments. You are one of the top 5 agents in Texas. I'll toot your horn. You are just incredible in terms of production and attraction and everything else. So, we are so excited. And where you're really killing it, and one of your I guess top areas, and the reason why I asked you to come here today is talk about luxury real estate. So,
Yeah.
and what your team is doing and how you're conquering the luxury market. But before we get into that, I always open up with this question: what are you most grateful for? So let's start with that. What are you most grateful for right now? It can be life, it can be personal, it can be business, it can be whatever opportunities.
Yeah, I love that question because there's so much to be grateful for. I think there's so much negativity in the world and the news and things like that. It's like if we just stop and be silent for a minute and just be, holy cow, think of everything that we have. So, what I'm grateful for, I'm obviously grateful for my family and my children and my husband, but I'm incredibly grateful for EXP Realty for a number of reasons. It's given me opportunities I didn't have before, and it gives us all a lane that we can find our way. It doesn't have to be the same lane, but we can still strive and help each other grow and pour into each other. But then the earnings came out today, and that's amazing, right? If you think about it,
Absolutely.
all we've heard, I know you've heard it, is doom and gloom. The market's crashing. It's horrible. There's no real great business. Everybody's doing horribly. And even big box real estate companies are saying the same thing. But then our earnings come out and we just shattered all of that. So I'm incredibly grateful for the platform that this company has, for the leadership that we have, the vision that Glenn Sanford had. But not only our leadership on a corporate level, but even for our state level. Tony King, you're our broker. You're amazing. And we know that we have you locking arms with us and making sure that we are supported. So I am grateful for all things EXP and especially you.
Oh, you're so sweet. Okay, and your check's in the mail, by the way. I'll
Thanks.
send you a check after it. Cash App, right? That's what we talked.
Let's make sure we
No,
get that part out of the way, right?
right, right. So, transitioning a little bit, right? You run the Lux, is it Lux team, right? Lux Group, Lux team.
Lux Property Group.
Lux Property Group. Okay, good. So I want to kind of dive into, obviously you can't have the word Lux in your name and not be all about luxury and all about high end properties, especially down there in Austin area. So what's the secret sauce? What is the magic that you are teaching your team and that y'all are executing so well and so efficiently right now in terms of dominating luxury real estate?
So I'll just give you the backstory and be completely transparent.
Right.
I was at Keller Williams for 10 years as an independent individual agent, and I wanted to break into that luxury market. And I thought it was really hard to do. And everybody that I would ask, they're like, well, you have to join the luxury division and you have to pay all this much money. And then you have to, like, it just didn't make sense to me because I didn't really see the value of it. And so when I left that company, which was a great company, but I left for a different opportunity, EXP really talked about, well, brand yourself, right? People are going to do business with you because of who you are, And those that know you, like you, and trust you, it doesn't matter who the brand is, right? You just want to have that support. So nobody knew who EXP was when I joined. There were 400 agents. I'm agent 466 at EXP. So nobody had any idea who they were. And so I took that opportunity and I sat back saying, well, I could brand myself and continue to do that, Elizabeth Riley, but does that move the needle? What do I really want to do? And I really wanted to break into luxury. And I didn't know how to do that. So I took that opportunity. And I feel, imposter syndrome is real, right? I took that opportunity. I was like, okay, I want to be in luxury. So what's the first step? Let me brand myself like I am in luxury. And so that's when I came up with Lux Property Group, because it does have that element of luxury. And so people started just assuming. Perception is pretty powerful, right? They just started assuming that I knew luxury. And I didn't. I had to figure it out quickly. And we can talk about how we did that. But my group, we don't have a formal team. We have a self-organized team. And so there are 3 of us that are licensed and 2 assistants. One works with me hand in hand on the listings. The other one works with me hand in hand on the buyers. And I can talk about some positives of the branding and that perception, and also some challenges that we've had to overcome. But that's really where the luxury piece came from. I had to put it out there. I had to create my branding. I had to make people think that that's what I was about. And it took some time to build up, but that's what I did.
That's great. That's great. So you had to create your image that you wanted to be perceived. And one of the things that the leadership here talks about all the time is, how do you want to be perceived, right? And you want to put that out there, and then eventually you get to a point where you're filling those shoes, and you work like crazy to backfill that kind of image that you're putting out there. So I think that's great advice. So what are some of the myths? And I think you kind of touched on this just a little bit, but what are probably the most prevalent myths that you see hold people back from cracking that luxury code or getting into luxury into the luxury market?
Well, I think one myth is people feel like they have to have all the answers. And what I encourage people to do is, if you want to break into luxury, reach out to some of the luxury agents that you recognize, that you respect, and just say, hey, I want to get into this. What can I do? I have a lot of agents that shadow me. I have a lot of agents that have asked me to co-list with them, right? You don't have to do it by yourself, and you don't have all the answers. And that's the beauty of EXP as well. Is I started learning from the luxury agents out of Beverly Hills. I'm plugging into agents around the country that are doing luxury very, very different than Austin, Texas. And it gave me an advantage over our local market, because Austin's I'm in Austin, Texas. So we're very hyper local. All the luxury agents, we all know each other. We're all networking, we're all friendly, but the reality is they're still competitive. We're all still competitive. So I had to figure out, how can I elevate my business? What can I do a little bit differently? Because these local agents aren't going to tell me what they're doing. So I started plugging into luxury agents around the country, learning what they're doing, and then implementing them to my business. So the first myth is you have to know it all and you have to do it by yourself. That's not true.
Wow.
Lock arms with us, because we collaborate. And I've had agents reach out to me saying, hey, Elizabeth, I've got this opportunity. A lot of them are like, I have a family member that wants me to list their luxury home. I don't know what to do. Can I just refer it to you? And I tell them, no, you can't refer it to me. How about this? Let's list it together. That way now you'll have me to help you, but you'll learn on the job. So
Wow.
it's okay to ask and reach out for help. I think that's a big thing. One of the big challenges that I did not anticipate was losing clients because they thought all I did was luxury. Luxury is a state of mind. Okay. So you might have somebody that's a $300,000 listing, but to them, that's luxury, right? That's their lifestyle. So luxury is a state of mind. And I had very good friends of mine going to buy a property or list a property. I'm like, what? You didn't call me. Well, I thought all you did was luxury. So that was a big light bulb moment for me, going, oh my gosh, I can't just be passive about it. I have to educate. And so, you're creating that environment of that luxury persona, if you will. But I wanted people to know that it's not just the luxury from a price point. It's the luxury experience. So I treat each of my clients like they are luxury. I don't care if you're a $200,000 condo. I'm going to do exactly what I do for my $5 million clients, right? I'm going to make sure you feel like you're my one and only client. I'm going to be there and resourceful and responsive and do all these other things. And I'm going to cultivate those relationships. But it's really about educating and being consistent that will make people understand who you are and how you can support them, because they don't want you to just put a sign in the yard. And you don't have to spend luxury. Sometimes you have to spend a little bit more money, but you don't have to spend a whole lot more money, right? You just have to be smart in your marketing dollars. And I was not smart for a long time. I would take overpriced listings just because I really wanted that listing. I wanted that luxury listing. And then you spend a whole lot of money and then you lose the listing, or it just doesn't pan out, right? And I've done that a lot of times. So you don't need to do that. And not all business, whether it's luxury or not all business is good business. You're a business person first and foremost. You need to counsel them and educate them, but cultivate that relationship so that you are their trusted advisor. But those are a couple of the myths that I had to overcome. And I'm always failing forward, and I'm always learning, and every situation is going to be a little bit different. But it's just making sure your clients know that you're there for them and giving them whatever that luxury experience is. And I'm not talking about financial, I'm talking about service. I'm talking about listening, right? I think sometimes people think luxury and it means dollar signs. That's not all of what I'm talking about here.
So wow, there's so much, man, to unpack there. You really dug deep into what it means to create a luxury experience. So I'm hoping that maybe you can unpack that for some folks, and really differentiate between luxury in terms of dollar sign
Yeah.
versus creating a luxury experience for every client. What are some of the things that you do to create a luxury experience, that gives you that brand and that meets their expectation when they think luxury?
Yeah. So first and foremost, I've built my business that I'm referral only now, which is awesome. The first thing is branding. Obviously, you want to have all of your brand consistent, whatever it is. If it's your name, that's great, but you want a clean, polished look. You don't want just something that's just kind of thrown together. That's the first thing. The next thing is when I get a call from somebody or I get a referral, I talk to that person, even if it's my best friend. I'm going to treat them the same as my clients, because I want them to understand what it's going to look like when they refer people to me as well. Okay. So I have a pre-listing packet I put together. So when I'm talking to somebody on the phone, I'm trying to understand what their needs are. And I'm setting that appointment. Once I hang up with them, and I always ask who referred them, even if I know who can I thank? And here's a big thing that will differentiate you from other people. It doesn't matter if you never hear from that referral. But as soon as you hang up and you know who referred them, write them a handwritten note thanking them for that referral. I put a gift card in there, but you don't have to do that. But if you just go in there and say, not a text, not a, hey, just wanted to say thanks for sending John over. I do a handwritten note and I send a gift card to the referring source. But then as soon as I hang up and I have all the information, I have my pre-listing packets together. And I have that couriered over to my client or my potential client ahead of the meeting. I do it that day. Okay. Because all of a sudden now they have a packet on their doorstep. I don't deliver it myself. I want to give them that grace of, okay, well, and honor the fact that we have an appointment and not be inconvenient, but I courier it over to their house so that they have something sitting on their front porch. Okay. It doesn't matter. I mean, I'm pretty strategic what I have in there, but I think sometimes people overthink it and get in the way of progress. And it's like, you just need to do something. But I have in there a lot of questions like, if I were the buyer, why do you love your home? Like on a scale from 1 to 10, I give an overview of who I am, but it's really not about me. Again, I want them to have something, because if I'm up against another agent, they're not sending pre-listing packets. They're just kind of waiting till they show up. So I send a pre-listing packet, or I send something in advance to let them know I appreciate the time on the call. I'm looking forward to meeting with them. And then when I meet with them, they have the package filled out. And I do this for a couple of reasons, which this isn't really luxury, but the disc profile is huge. Because if I don't know who I'm sitting across, I can tell from the pre-listing packet really quickly what personality type I'm dealing with. Okay. And so now I know how to approach the listing presentation. Have your listing presentation put together, be organized. I know in Austin, we're very, very casual, but I'm going to dress the part. I'm not going to show up casual. I don't care what the price point is. Okay. And then when I can sit with them, then I can have a conversation, a dialogue. I'm not doing a presentation with them because I already have a lot of the information I already need to know. And I'm just getting into the meat and potatoes of what's important to you. What are your reasons? Here's what I can do for you as an agent. So as far as the marketing piece goes, professional photography is an absolute must no matter what. Right? Not even a question. I still see
No,
you.
no iPhones. You're
I
not rocking
still
with that.
see that though, and I cringe. I'm like, you've got a 800, 900 million dollar property and you're using your iPhone photos. It's like, it's not okay.
Yeah.
It's a perception and it's a reflection of who you are as well. So professional photos, absolutely. My luxury listings, most of them, all of them have aerial photography. Aerial photography can be a little bit more expensive, but again, it's worth it
It's
because
not
you
breaking the
want
bank.
to show them. Right. A Matterport, I used to not do them. I still do them. I make sure we do that. We have a website for them. We have all of this other stuff. We're getting back in our market. We're getting back to the flyers, which is kind of crazy because for the longest time I wasn't doing brochures, but my brochures are professionally made. They're two-side color. They're harder cardstock, if you will. They're glossy. They are sharp. I used to do them in booklet form, but what I found out quickly was people, the nosy neighbors, want to take them. Everybody wants to look at them and take them because they look nice, but you can't fit as many in a flyer box, right? So when people are looking at their homes, especially right now, people aren't doing flyers as much. I want them to be able to take mine. It's glossy, it's sharp, it's stunning, and it's going to set them apart when they're sitting down with their agent going, okay, of the 10 properties, which one did you like? Mine's going to stand out. We do broker open houses. Now in Austin, if it's over a certain price point, we can market them in the luxury undergrounds before they go on the market. So any of my luxury properties, I make sure all the luxury agents know about it, that it's coming up. I'll do a broker preview prior to it going on the market with those brokers and their luxury agents, and I'll let them bring clients if they have somebody that fits that. So I'm trying to get as much awareness out there as possible before I hit the market, because I still, even in this market, I've got one right now that's in multiple offers and we're 15,000 over list, right? So it just depends on how you present it. And so then I have the broker preview, and then we'll do the open houses. And I don't serve alcohol in mine. Some people do. I know a lot of luxury agents that will do mimosas or things like that. I don't, because I don't want the liability. I'm always worried about liability, but we still have a nice, fruit and cheese platter. It just depends on what it is, but we will have a nice spread that is available for people as they're browsing around the house. And then it just depends on the situation and what we do from the marketing there. We do a lot of online marketing, but the presentation of the house is critical. And so many people skip that step right now because the last few years, it hasn't necessarily been needed.
It's been
But
easy.
even though
Too easy.
it was too easy, I still did that, right? Because it's still my reputation. And then I stay in touch with my clients all the time. I don't put a sign in the yard and say, see you. On our luxury properties, we have the colonial signs. So we have a little bit of a nicer sign. But then I'm staying in touch with them all the time. I'm communicating with them all the time. I used to say, okay, every Friday you're going to have an update, which they know that. And they will have a marketing update. This is the online traffic we're seeing. This is the feedback we're seeing. But I'm building that relationship, because I really believe if you earn the relationship, it's easier to earn the business.
Yeah.
So now that I have the relationship, I'm in conversations with them all the time, and they know that I'm there. I'm watching their property. Even if I have 10 properties, I'm treating them like they're my only property. So they feel that they feel a little bit more loved. I think one of the big myths is luxury sellers and buyers are harder to work with. I don't think so. I actually sometimes think it's a little bit easier if you set the expectation and manage expectations up front, because a lot of them are savvy business people. They didn't just get there on accident, right? To be able to spend $2, $3, $4, $5 million on a property. They are busy, and they just want somebody that's going to take care of it and give them the information and make sure everything's taken care of. So I actually like working with them because it's no nonsense. But I also make sure I have my team surrounding me. My team means my stager, my inspector, my lender, my title company, everybody that I surround myself with. they're all strategically placed to make sure that I look good in the transaction and make sure that they service the client like I expect them to. And if they don't, then they know that they've lost my business as well.
So super high standards, high expectation, looking for the highest return on what's the lowest cost investment you can make that gets the highest return in terms of experience, right? So
Yeah.
if I'm hearing you correctly, and I couldn't agree more, and I think that's a common trend with everyone that's in luxury right now. You mentioned some of the biggest challenges, or I guess let me just come out and ask you what are some of the biggest challenges that you can foresee with luxury maybe over the next 12 months. I mean, it's no secret we're in a market shift. We are in a some people will call it a recession or depression or whatever they're going to call it. What do you think is going to be, I guess, on both sides of the coin, the
Yeah.
biggest hurdle to get over in luxury, and then the biggest opportunities that's going to present?
The hurdles I'm already seeing right now is mindset with the pricing, right? They're still stuck in, well, this is what my property was, and that's not going to affect the luxury market as well. And it's affecting the luxury market a little bit. The interest rates are definitely affecting it because those price points are much higher, and they're jumbo loans for the most part. I have people that are paying cash, but a lot of them know there's going to be opportunities for investing and buying right now, and so they don't want to necessarily use their cash. So my biggest one, even the interest rates aren't that big of a hurdle because they know that at some point they're going to come down, they can refinance, what have you, and it's a short-term pain point. But my biggest hurdle right now is mainly with my clients, whether they're sellers or buyers, in the mindset of value, right? And our market increased, at least Austin, our market increased so quickly and so rapidly, and it wasn't sustainable. But because we still don't have inventory, our prices, I mean, are still a little bit too high. And I'm having a harder challenge getting my clients to see reason. What I am doing, I used to do this a long time ago when I was in Atlanta and early on in Austin. I haven't done it in the last few years because it's been such a seller's market. But what I'm going back to now is in my listing agreements with my sellers, if they are not being realistic, because I don't want them to feel like I'm against them, right? I'm working with them. It's a partnership, and I want them to understand that. So if I'm looking at a number and they want to list it too high, I'll say, you know what, my numbers are showing something different. Hopefully I'm wrong. And the challenge we're having too is the comps are still pulling from the spring market.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So, you're trying to educate, but they're looking at the numbers and they're saying, well, this is what it's showing me. I was like, yeah, but look at the date. So I don't want to get in this battle with them, because the reality is if I battle them, they're just going to go find another agent that will list it at their price.
Yep.
So what I'm doing now is, okay, you know what? I don't see those numbers. I hear what you're saying, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope you're right. But we'll list at your price. We're going to write in the listing agreement that if there's not an offer within 2 weeks, not a showing, an offer, that you're going to agree to lower the price. And they're like, okay, that's fair. So that's overcoming a lot of that objection. And they know that I'm working with them, so they're not going to go look for another agent. So I'm still having an issue with valuation right now. I've got a few listings that are just kind of sitting there and we're watching it and I'm giving the data and the valuation, but they're still like, well, there's no inventory. All these people are moving to Austin. There's all this corporate money that's coming into Austin. So it's going to take a little bit of a time, I think, as we get through the fall and start into the spring to see what's really going to happen. But that's the biggest hurdle for me right now. It's not really the rates. It is going to affect some things, but I don't think that's the biggest hurdle for me. But if you're in advance and you're being proactive and you have market knowledge, that's the other thing. You have to have market knowledge. You can't just say, I don't know. I mean, you have to, if you're marketing a property or you're farming an area, make sure you're knowledgeable, because that's going to help you stand out from other people. But it's just one of those things where you're just educating them and you're being proactive and saying, okay, listen, this is what it's looking like right now. This is what I think it's going to look like, but I hope I'm wrong.
Got it. So, and you mentioned farming, and farming some of the high end communities. What advice would you give to agents that are trying to tap into those? Because I know, and you mentioned now that you are referral only at this point, but
Yeah.
I know, and that wasn't always the case, right? And you didn't get there by referral only. So, in terms of marketing, in terms of farming, in terms of kind of cracking the code to some of these super high end neighborhoods where agents are wanting to tap into, or maybe they've done one or two, but they really want to turn it up, because I think, and the reason why I have you here is that, and what I'm seeing, at least kind of on the state perspective, you are seeing properties that are taking a little bit longer to
Mhm.
sell, but the ones that are not selling aren't the luxury properties, right? And as financing changes and interest rates are going up, then one aspect or one area of real estate that's not really impacted by interest rates is going to be folks that are coming in with cash and buying these high end properties, right? So, and for million and up, the majority of those are still selling cash. So I'm curious to know, what advice would you give someone that's trying to tap into one of these luxury subdivisions or farming, in that regard?
Yeah, so farming's kind of an interesting subject because there's so many different ways to farm, and I think most people think, oh, there's only one way to farm, right? And farming can be very, very expensive if you don't do it right, and it takes a long time to see any return. Um, for me, I farm my database. Okay, so I
Okay.
build I build a database of people that I know that know me, like me, trust me. My dog worker, it doesn't matter because I want to be the mayor of my community. So that's what I would encourage people to be the mayor of your community. I moved into a new neighborhood a number of years ago, and I remember it was pretty eye opening because one of my kids said, "Hey, mom, I saw some other signs in the neighborhood. Does that drive you crazy and make you mad because your sign's not in there?" And I said, "No, it's my fault." And he said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Because they don't know me. They don't know who I am. I haven't done a good job. I talk about farming, but I was so focused on farming my sphere. I wasn't farming the area that I know that I live and I work in, right? So that was an opportunity for me. So for agents that are wanting to break into an area, you have to get them to, don't be a secret agent. You have to get them to know who you are, but also don't be that agent where it's like, "Hey, do you know you want to buy or sell?" I mean, you want to earn the relationship because when you earn the relationship, they rather do business with somebody they know, like, and trust as opposed to somebody they feel like they have to. There's always going to be those people in any neighborhood that will always get the listing. Okay. But what about all the other people that aren't guaranteed to go with that agent? You want to be
Right.
that person that steps in there. So for me, I farm a little bit differently. I don't send just listed, just sold, market stats. I'm sending stuff so they can get to know me a little bit. So for example, when I first moved over here, I wrote a letter, like a letter to a friend saying, "I wanted to introduce ourselves. We just moved here. This is who we are on a personal level. This is who my husband does this. This is what I do. We're looking forward to getting to know you all and being in the neighborhood." Now they know what I do. So when I start marketing to them passively or sending out note cards or sending out different things or sponsoring something in the neighborhood, like the Halloween party in the cul-de-sac, where every year we buy all the pizza, right? And I can put
Mhm.
in the neighborhood chat, "Hey, all the pizza sponsored by Lux Property Group. Can't wait to see you guys there." Or if you don't have a neighborhood workplace group or a Facebook group, create one. That's your opportunity. If there's not something already there, use that as an opportunity. Don't go spamming people. Use it as adding value. One other thing I do is I'll do front porch Fridays. So once a quarter, when the weather's nice, come to my house. Everybody's in the front porch. We have a movie screen. We have all these different things you can do, getting the neighbors and getting the people together. And then that way they're, but I'm not, I mean, I might wear a Lux Property Group or I might have my napkins that say Lux Property Group, but I'm not leading with that. I'm leading with the relationship. Margot Wickersham's one of my agents here that she is really focused on one area. And so she just did a whole neighborhood Halloween parade and ice cream and all these other things. And so have fun with it because meet people where they are. There's a lot of families, community. Figure out how you can be welcomed into their world without leading with real estate. Does that make sense?
No, I think that's incredible, Elizabeth. And what I'm hearing you say is, and I haven't heard this before, and this is great. Farm the people, don't farm the neighborhood, right? Farm the people. So,
Yeah,
and you're right. There's all kinds of different methods, and we had Nali on last week, who's incredible, and he's
yeah,
going into kind of farming and becoming the mayor. And I'm hearing some reoccurring themes there. But I love the fact of and the mindset behind farming the people, right,
yeah.
and becoming that mayor in their mind of that area or of that place, but really tugging on the heartstrings and letting them get to know you. So you find that area and you really focus on the people, whether that be Facebook, whether that be LinkedIn, or whatever. Find who those people are and farm to the people that are selling the houses, not just indiscriminately to the whole neighborhood.
Well, and you have to be consistent. That's the key. Because if you do one thing and say, oh, well, it didn't work, well, it's not going to work.
Of
Right.
course.
I market to my database every single month. I'm doing, and I've done this for 17 and a half years. That's why my business is referral. So you can't just do one thing and say, well, it didn't work. It's going to take time. But what I also do, we haven't done it in a while, but whenever we were doing things in the neighborhood, all of my kids, I would make them go put flyers on the doors or whatever they were doing. And they're like, well, we need to get paid for this. I'm like, okay, I'll take you guys to get ice cream or whatever it was. Well, then what happened is now they all wanted their own shirts. So now I got shirts for all of my kids and all their neighbor kids because they wanted to help. Now they make me pay them with money, but that's fine. And the shirts say the Lux Squad. And they actually wanted the shirts to say the Lux Squad, the Lux Child Labor Squad. And I'm like, no, no,
Uh-oh.
child labor. But they have the Lux Squad, and then on the back it says call my agent. It has our information. So now when they're running around the neighborhood, because people love kids, right? They're running around the
Absolutely.
neighborhood and they're putting flyers on the door. They're doing whatever. My branding is out there, and it's just you're creating that consistency. And they're like, oh my gosh, we're seeing Lux everywhere. People come up to me all the time. They're like, oh my gosh, we see you all over the place. I haven't had a listing in my neighborhood in a while. I mean, I have, but not one in a while. And they think that I'm all over the place because they're seeing me and I'm sending them things in the mail, whatever that neighborhood is. So my database, my personal database that I have the relationship is going to be different than my neighborhood, but I'm still being consistent so they know what I'm doing. Right. And I mean, like right now, November and December are super easy ways to get in touch with people or touch people. Right. So November, it's gratitude. Write a handwritten note to everybody in your database or everybody in your farm, just saying, during this season of gratitude, I just want to let you know I'm thankful for you. I
Wow.
don't say, and I just have it on my branded stationery. It's short and sweet. December, I make a donation to a local charity every single year, and then I print out all these postcards and I send the list of names to the charity saying, thank you for everything you do for our community. Please accept this donation in the name of the following people. And I just print their first names. And then I make cards and I send them out to everybody saying, in lieu of gifts this holiday season, a donation has been made in your name to such and such charity. Thank you for your continued support and referrals. I send that to my database, but I send it out to my neighbors as well.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
just finding ways to touch them instead of a just listed or just sold. And I'm not saying don't do those things, but just don't rely on those things.
I think that's incredible. And as you talk about the concept, it sounds like really a one-two punch, right? So it's a one punch is that brand, right? So you're creating your brand, this luxury brand, and this image, right, that you're putting forth, and how you want to be perceived in the marketplace. And then the follow up to that, right? The two punch on that is tugging on those heartstrings and farming the people themselves,
Yeah.
because and then once they pick up this postcard, once they pick up this handwritten note, once they see your flyers that your kids are hanging, whatever the case is, now it's cemented in their mind. Oh wow, not only is she a great gal, but in addition to that, she's also luxury. Right? Why don't we give her a call?
Yeah.
And now what you're doing is really positioning yourself to be, maybe you're not the first call that client's going to make, because yeah, if there's already someone that is dominant in that area, and we all know who they are, right? In the high end subdivisions, there's always the brokerage or the person that kind of does that. But now you're certainly going to be that second person they call, right? So I think according to NAR statistics, most folks are still interviewing with at least two
Yep.
agents, right, before they make a decision. So I think that's a 1-2 punch in terms of making yourself that second call that they make. Even if you're not the first, you're still going to get a shot. You're going to get a bite at the apple, so to speak.
Well, there's no agent that owns 100% of their farming neighborhood at all.
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, we've
Absolutely.
got some amazing agents at our company that, I mean, I think Jill Liebernight owns like 45% of her farming area, but
Yep.
that's still 55% opportunity for somebody else to come in there, right? So
Facts.
I think it's, again, it goes back to mindset. When people are like, oh yeah, somebody's already in there. Well, you could look at it that way. I choose to
Or
get the opportunity, right?
right.
And when you earn that relationship, they might not, I mean, there's times where people think they know me and we've never met. I mean, Halloween was a perfect example. Well, first of all, we give out king size candy bars because we want to be the most popular house on the block anyway. But
I love
people
it.
are
I love
walking
it.
up and they think they know who I am and they think we've met before. And there was a woman and her daughter that came in the house and she's just talking to me. And I realized I've never met her before, but they think they know me. So that's what you want. And then what happens is they start reaching out to you for all sorts of things. Hey, Elizabeth, who do you have that's a great landscaper? Right? So that's why it's so important to make sure you have your team in place. You have all these people because I want to be the human Rolodex. I want to be like,
Connected.
especially in luxury, who's your interior designer? Who's your
Yep.
high end appliances, right? You want to have these people in your network. So when they do call, because they will call, you don't say, oh, I don't know. I don't have anybody. Never, I don't know is never the answer. You're like, absolutely, let me get back to you on that. And then you reach out to any of us or workplace. That's why workplace is so great. Hey, this is what I have. Who has somebody great? So it's just, again, it's that luxury mindset, not the dollar signs. If you're treating people like you want to be treated or treating them like they're one and only, and a neighborhood that might be 400,000, those might be luxury depending on what part of the city they are in, right?
Right.
So it doesn't have to be $1 million and above. It just figure out your market, figure out the area, understand what's turning. And another thing is to partner with your title company. They can pull data that can show you the likelihood of somebody selling. They can pull data to show you how much equity an owner has in their home. So if you have a fixed amount of money for marketing, right? I mean, for example, if I have somebody that, or 5 people that just bought homes in the neighborhood, they're not likely to sell right now. So if I have a fixed amount of marketing dollars, I don't necessarily want to steer those marketing dollars to those 5 houses, right? But if I can get the data from the title company that says, oh, well, they have 80% equity in this home, they might want to downsize or upsize or look at what their valuation is. It gives you another reason to reach out to them with information that they might not have. Like, did you know that your house is worth this right now? Do you know if you sold it, it could be worth this? Like, what would you want to do next? So it arms you with data that will give you an advantage over somebody else, just because somebody might just be sending blanket messages to everybody in the neighborhood, not really knowing who has more equity and who has none.
That's great. That's wonderful. And as you talk about the and I think we've already discussed some of the negative attributes or some of the things that challenges that we can foresee coming up. What do you see as being the opportunities that specifically luxury real estate has going into the next 12 months?
The conversations I've been having with agents that are not with our company, there's a lot of fear, like a lot of fear. And that's why, again, when I said I'm grateful for the earnings that came out, I'm like, this is amazing. We are well positioned in any market, but not every model and every brokerage is like that. And I was at an event yesterday and there was a lot of fear with some of these luxury agents that were there. And so I think that's going to be a challenge because a lot of them are like, I might just retire, I might just step out, or I don't really need to do this. NAR is saying 40% of agents are going to get out of the business. I
Yep.
don't think that's just new agents, right?
True.
I think new agents have a huge opportunity. I mean, I got licensed in Georgia. I built a business there, but in 2008 we were transferred to Austin, Texas, and everybody was like, "You're crazy for getting your license. Do you know the market just crashed? Do you know the market is horrible?" And
Yeah.
I was like, "Well, I just came from Atlanta, where all I was doing was foreclosures and short sales. That was a really bad market. Austin's opportunity." And I built a big business starting in 2008, not knowing anybody here. So I think the people that have so much fear and aren't surrounded by the right people and the right environment and the right leaders are going to get out of the business because now they feel like it's too hard or they're tired. I mean, agents are tired. The last few years have been exhausting.
Yeah.
Right. And so now you go from a really, really high to a really low for them. I think a lot of those people are going to get out of the business because because of the fear. And I think that gives us all of an opportunity to step into those positions so that we're not going to have as much competition on the real estate side from real estate agents. And if you're being consistent and you're showing up in the right way and you're positioning yourself accurately, you're going to be the one that takes the position that somebody else would have had.
I couldn't agree more. I think that's great. So you talked about a little bit earlier about making sure that you're well organized, and I want to shift gears a little bit more into productivity. What's your number one productivity hack that you're willing to share with us?
All right, I'm going to be really honest with you because it's just you and me, Tony.
Yeah, it's just you and me, right?
Just
Just
you and me.
private.
I am a hot mess. Oh my God.
Okay.
I am a hot mess. And I'm going to just tell you that. And every time I say that, people are like, you shouldn't say that. I'm like, oh no, because then people are like, oh, I'm not the only one that's a hot mess. You can still be productive and not be a hot mess. Here's the thing for me. I'm not good with systems and processes. I am trying, and I'm realizing I'm surrounding myself with the people with the skills to do that. But for productivity for me is just get the hard stuff done first. Like for me, that's my hurdle. Getting up every morning. I have 4 kids, right? So my day is always crazy. I never know what's going to look like getting kids to school, things like that. But time blocking has never been my strength. But when I started time blocking, I started seeing results in that, right? And what you see on your calendar is what's important to you. And I wasn't even time blocking my family. So I've time blocked on my calendar after 6 o'clock, it's family. And so my family realizes they're my priority. And if there's something that comes up, I can ask for grace and say, hey, this is what I need to do. But for productivity for me, I would say time blocking. And I struggle with that daily. So I don't want to say I've got it all figured out, but then getting the hard stuff out of the way first. I get in front of my computer. I do the things I don't want to do because if I'm not doing those, then it's going to drag me out the rest of the day. And I'm like, gosh, it's in the back of your head, in the back of your head, in the back of your head. And I'm not going to be as productive as the things I need to be doing. So for me, that's what I do. And then I check emails. I make sure all of my clients are taken care of. I use Trello. I have a database, but it really just holds my information. Like a CRM, I don't really utilize it like a CRM because I'm so visual, but Trello is what I use. So I can glance and say, okay, here's all my sellers. Here's what I need to do. I need to check in with them. Let me check market stats. Here are my buyers. And that's what I do every single day. So then it determines what has to be done in the hours to come. But time blocking is a big thing because otherwise you're just being reactive. And I don't operate very well when I have to be reactive.
Got it. So time now for the $1 million question, right? And the reason why all these folks are here, you are starting over, Elizabeth Riley. You know, all of your track record, all your success, everything is gone. You're starting over tomorrow. You want to start this luxury brand. You want to start Lux Property Group all over again today in 2022 as we head into this recession. How do you go and get your first 10 luxury listings?
It's not about who you know, it's who knows you. So you first need to write a list and make sure you have a database of everybody you know. You need to understand what you want. You can't just say, I want to go get a luxury listing. Okay, where? Like, what area do you know? Okay, I want to be in Pemberton. Okay, cool. You want to be in Pemberton. There's a lot of luxury agents in Pemberton. So now you need to understand the stats. Now you need to understand the numbers. Now you need to talk to your title company and say, okay, there's a lot of old money and older people that live there. Go see who's most likely to sell, right? Because a lot of Pemberton, this is probably a bad example, a lot of Pemberton sells off market. So you have to research and understand your product before you can go after it. Figure out who knows people in Pemberton in your database. Well, for me, figure out who knows people and you start networking. You can network with the area agents, but again, they're going to keep things close to their chest. Network with people that are outside of real estate that are going to know people in Pemberton. Go start hanging out in areas in Pemberton. Go set up shop in the coffee shop right there in Pemberton. Looks super nice. One of the things we learned a long time ago, and you could do this, and I've done this too, where I will go and buy coffee for the first 3 hours. And people come over and they're like, thank you so much for that cup of coffee. How are you? And you look nice and you're presented. So you have to be where those listings are. And you need to know that knowledge, but you need to make sure people know who you are because it doesn't matter if you know who they are. If they don't know you and you don't have the relationship, they have a million relationships that they can call already. So to get those listings, I would immediately link up with your title rep and say, hey, what luxury market has the most opportunity for me? Because if you go to one that hasn't turned over or has 20 homes, you're going to be spinning your wheels.
Waste
So
of
you
money.
need to make sure you have your database together, make sure and network. Get on calls. I don't call listings or expireds or things like that, but some people do great with that. I'm not saying that's a bad way. That's why I love real estate, because there's so many different ways you can be productive and successful, right? Um, but I will call people I know. I will get involved. So here's another thing I did: get involved in organizations where those types of sellers are or buyers. So I'm in Women's Symphony League. Okay. Women's Symphony League is not my day to day kind of a thing, but I wanted to give back to the community, be involved. But that is the clientele I want to be surrounded by. Right. So figure out, I would make a list of 3 organizations that you can be a part of. Don't be in an organization where there's a bunch of agents. Be in an organization where you have similar interests, where you're being authentic, right? I mean, I always joke saying, you're never going to see me volunteer for Austin Pets Alive. And if you do, you know I'm not being my authentic self, because I'm not an animal person. People are going to see right through that. Everybody wants to buy, but nobody wants to be sold.
Right.
So in those areas, in that clientele, you need to be your authentic self. Get involved in volunteer opportunities. But I would work with your title rep to see, hey, this is the area I'm thinking of farming and I'm thinking of pouring my effort into. Does this make sense from an equity standpoint or a ratio? What are the ratios for buyers to sellers over here? And get involved in those. And then get involved in the organizations that the luxury agents are in as well. And listen and hear what's coming up. Listen and go on the property tours. But market knowledge is, as much information as you have is going to be great. Utilize that in your marketing. Utilize that in your social media. Go to a luxury listing and do a video there. Reach out to the luxury agents saying, man, I would love to do a video in there. I'd love to get more exposure. Do you mind if I do a video or a live or a social media reel? Most likely they're going to say no problem. Like all of my listings, I tell my agents that all the time. I'm like, why not? You're giving more exposure. I'm not a huge social media person, but that's where a lot of people are going right now. So if you're standing in front of a $5 million property, or you're going to an open house or something, you're like, hey, I just want to show you this. If you want to see this, reach out to me. I'm your luxury agent. Start positioning yourself in that light.
Wow. There you have it.
I don't know if
That's how
that's
you go and
helpful.
build
I
a
know I
business.
just kind of,
No, I mean, what more could you ask for, right? That's how you go and build a business like Elizabeth Riley's got. So, no, I think there's all kinds of incredible tips in there, and what I'm hearing is going all the way back to this mayor concept and being the mayor of that area, right? So you want to be seen at the same coffee shop where Pemberton or Georgetown or wherever, right? And say, hey, I'm what coffee shop are these people going to? What restaurants are they going to? What where's the closest barbershop around here? Whatever it is, and be seen in those places. Pay for haircuts or whatever, but be seen and be recognized in the area where those folks are, where they shop. Which Krogers are they going to, right?
yeah.
So don't just if you are going to pay for the little shopping cart ads, why not pay for the shopping cart ads at the Kroger's in Pemberton, right? So and if that's what you're wanting to do, make sure that you're targeting that, and get with a title company. Make sure that you are not just wasting your marketing dollars on places that are not turning over. We learned as well from, I think Nolly was talking last week, wanting to have about 7 to 10% turnover rate in that area, and it's pretty simple to find that out yourself in MLS, or get with a title company, as you mentioned. So wonderful.
Yeah, that's, I mean, like Nolly's so darn funny. But it's, and he and I are very different in our approaches, but we're
Right.
very successful.
You're both very rich too, and
right?
sell a lot of houses.
Like we just do. But one of the things I did too is there was a neighborhood that it's not all, and again, for that area, it's a great price point. But I wanted to be more visible in that area, and it's not far from my neighborhood too. And so there was a new little coffee shop that opened, and I went to the owner and I said, hey, I love supporting local. I work here. I live here. I would love to host and pay for the first 3 hours of coffee. And they're like, well, what's the catch? There's no catch. I just want to be able to give them a business card, and I'm going to have, I partnered with my lender, a CPA, and me. I said, the 3 of us are going to be here. We're going to be just sitting over here. And if anybody has any questions or they ask who bought the coffee, we would love to visit with them. And so what happened is he said, okay, we had little business cards that said, enjoy a cup of coffee on us. And then on the back had all 3 of our logos.
I love
And
it.
they took it up there. The coffee person, took their order, whatever it was, for the first 3 hours. We're standing there. People want to know about the industry. They want to know about, end of year. They want to know about, oh my gosh, what CPA tricks and write-offs could I consider before the end of the year? They want to know, especially right now with the lender. I just had my preferred lender at my team meeting today, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is fascinating information. So you're adding value, but you're not selling anything, right?
Wow.
And I didn't ask for their information, and then they're consistent. And then what happens is the three of us split the bill, and it's like, I don't know, $100 each. No big deal. But you start doing things like that, showing up consistently and adding value, then that's where people are going to respond. I mean, they'll respond to mailers eventually. I think that's just a lot more expensive, and it's harder to get in front of people and get into conversations.
Yeah. And I even love the idea that just popped up just now, right? About maybe marrying a couple of these ideas that you just brought out. So, I know we just passed Halloween, so maybe too late for this. Put this in the journal for next year. But you go out to one of these luxury subdivisions where you're wanting to tap in and you're wanting to be the mayor of luxury subdivision. You find a listing or an open house, or where there's a vacant property, and you reach out to that listing agent and say, hey, can I post up shop here? Can I have a Halloween party here?
Yeah.
And give out full-size candy bars at this listing, and I'm going to generate all kinds of traffic for this listing and all kinds of eyeballs on this area, as well as build up your credibility, your brand. And anyone that's thinking about selling is like, oh my gosh, this is a great idea. Why isn't our agent doing this in our for our listing, right? So
well, I
just
love you
ideas.
brought that up, because I have a client that just bought. They just moved here, and they bought, I think it was a $1.4 million house, and then they called me and they said, hey, do you happen to have any connections in Florida? And I said, yes, right? Of course, absolutely. What part of Florida? And they said Windermere. And I was like, oh my gosh, one of my best friends is an agent with our company in Windermere. Yes, absolutely. So I get to call Renee Funk, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a referral for you. The girl made me look so bad, in a good
Wow.
way, because she was tagging me in all these posts and these videos and sending them to my client. They literally did a whole day open house, Halloween open house. Her agents were there in peanut butter and jelly, like they were all dressed up. They had all this stuff. I was like, that was brilliant. I never even thought
Right.
of that.
Yep.
And my client was like, you referred me to the best agent. I was like, yes, I did. I could learn from her, right? So like, that's what's so cool, is we can learn from each other, and there's still great opportunities. I mean, you can do a gratitude luncheon or a gratitude, neighborhood gratitude function, holiday thing, anything you want to do. Utilize that to get in front of more people so they know who you are, because people love to give back. For November, one of the schools that I get really involved in the schools, because I have 4 kids and I have mom guilt. And if I'm focusing all on work and I'm not focusing on my kids, like that's hard. But I'm like, oh, well, what if I focus on work where my kids are too? So
Yeah.
for gratitude, I went to the school and I said, I would love to do a teacher appreciation. And so I ordered cup. I have a coffee person coming in, and I ordered cups that say Lux Property Group on one side, and on the other side it says, we're so grateful for everything you do for our community and our children. Here's to you, or something like that. Cheers to you. And then I went to a little local shop that does pastries, and I said, hey, I'm going to do this client appreciation. Can I order 100 or 200 pastries from you? And they're like, oh, it's for the school. We want to give back. We'll give you a 10% discount. So I'm having a whole gratitude teacher appreciation, and I'm sponsoring it all, because who knows better than, because those kids, those families are in those communities,
Absolutely. In that neighborhood
in
specifically.
that
Yeah.
neighborhood. So the teachers are super grateful. The parents get to know who you are, because now I'm not doing stuff for the kids so much. I had one agent that was like, hey, I'm going to do Rice Krispie treats for all the kids, and say, put my logo on there. I was like, okay, that's a great idea. However, that Rice
This
Krispie
in the trash.
never
Yeah.
going to get home to the mom, and they're never going to
Right.
see that branding.
Yeah.
So I'm doing something for the teachers. In February, go in and go buy Girl Scout cookies I buy 350 boxes every year. And they all say thanks a lot. And I just put a sticker on there with my Lux branding. Thank you for everything you do for the community and our kids. XOXO, Elizabeth and the Lux Property Group. And I just put them in their boxes, right?
Yeah.
So you can really love on the teachers and love on your community, because they are going to cascade that information out. And if you're doing it consistently, when they hear a mom or a parent saying something about real estate, who's going to come to mind? It's going to be you.
Wow. Yeah, no, I think that's incredible. Last thing here, before we get to a few questions, I want to dispel the myth, right? And stop me if you've heard this one before. I'm sure, as I hear it all the time, and that is that I can't do luxury listing. I need to do a few standard listings before I can go into luxury, right? Or I'm not ready for that yet. Maybe down the road, after I've got a few hundred listings under my belt, then I'll be able to upgrade and start doing luxury listings. Is that a myth in your mind? Or are agents able to jump right in and do listings whenever, or luxury listings whenever they decide that they are able?
Oh, no, I think that's a total myth. If you
You
were
mean there, there,
presented
there-
an
there's no
opportunity,
certification that they have to get? There's no blessing.
no,
The priest doesn't have to come by and say you're blessed to sell $1 million house. Nothing
no.
like that.
That's where we all come in and we rally around each other because we're all owners of this company. And it's like, okay, I have this opportunity. How can we all come in and help? Because if they win, we all win, right? I mean, there are designations out there. There's CHLMS. I am CHLMS certified, but nobody cares. Most of my clients and people don't know what that means anyway. Right?
Agreed.
It's just something that's put on the bottom and it makes me look fancy. And who cares? Nobody cares about the designations. And the only reason I have the designations is because we all have to get CE. And so instead of just getting CE to get CE, I'm like, well, I might as well get designations with it.
Right.
Right. But that is not going to make me more of a fit for a property than another agent. That designation doesn't do much. I love the fact that EXP Luxury, because this has been a passion project of mine forever since I've been here. I'm excited that EXP finally has luxury. And so you can tap into that and utilize that. It's going to be an expense associated with it. But again, I mean, the luxury program is going to be amazing, but you don't have to be a part of it to sell a luxury house.
Right.
Right.
So there's no graduation that you have to go to in order to be able to do
No,
luxury real estate.
no. And you're not on an island. There was somebody, I think it was Damian Forrester, actually, out of Montana. He had an opportunity to go up against it for a $15 million listing. It was crazy. And what he did is he poured into workplace to luxury agents, all of us around the country, and was like, guys, I'm up against Sotheby's. I'm up against, I don't know, I think it was Compass. What can I do to set myself apart? And it was amazing to see all of us jumped in. We're like, okay, what about this? What, like all of a sudden it was like our listing. We
Yeah.
were all vested in that. And he didn't end up getting it. He was the second one, but he was like, oh my gosh. And all of us learned so much from that. So no, you don't have to check a box and go down a certain path before you can have any price point. You're a real estate agent,
Yep.
right? And you're
You're
surrounded
licensed.
by some of the best in the nation. So tap into that and let us all help. And if one of us doesn't know, I mean, I had somebody's like, who can do equestrian? Well, that's not me, but let's find out who can. We're all in this together. No, you don't have to have any certification, and you don't have to have all this experience. Just say we. We is
A
EXP.
team. Yep.
We is not, you might not have ever sold a house in that neighborhood, but we have, right? It's all about mindset and it's all about changing the narrative. Absolutely. You get that, plug into all of us, and we're going to help you succeed.
That's right. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. All right. So we do have some great questions here in the chat. And again, if you have any questions, please do. Actually, I can't believe I forgot to tell everyone. Please make sure that you like, subscribe, and also click that bell notification icon, please. Right. So that anytime that we go live, hopefully you got a lot of information out of this. I know I have a ton of notes here. I've been feverishly typing my notes on the side, but this has been absolutely incredible. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. If you have a few more minutes, I'd like to get to a few questions if we can.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So first up, looks like Tony says, how long should it be in the private listing status? How long are you marketing these properties off market?
Okay, so that depends on your market. And it looks like he's in San Antonio. And it also, you got to watch out for NAR. Okay, so NAR has the whole coming soon. Austin took away the coming soon piece. And so I'm involved in 2 underground luxury, I guess, I don't know what, networking groups that you have to qualify. You have to pay for it and you have to be a certain part of it. So it really depends on my client. But what I usually do is I'll have it in there while we're getting the listing ready to go. Because I will tell my clients, look, I want to get a runway. I want to let the listing agent, or I want the luxury agents to know it's coming. But there might be able to create a feeding frenzy once we go live. So it just depends on the client. Usually it's about a week. But NAR, once you go coming soon, any other platform other than the ones where those 2 were in Austin, you have to be on market within 24 hours. So it depends on your MLS, what that allows for you to do. Austin doesn't allow for coming soon anymore. And then you also have to be prepared for NAR because you don't want to be penalized
Thank you.
for the clear cooperation.
Yes, thank you so much for bringing up clear cooperation as the designated broker.
Yeah.
I'm starting to get goosebumps over here and like
Don't listen to
freak out a
Elizabeth.
little bit. You're making my bones tingle. But if you have questions, you're making my broker bones tingle, as I say. But
Yeah.
if you have questions about your specific market and what you can and can't do in terms of clear cooperation, stop by the broker room. Reach out to your broker. Not everyone here is EXP, but if you are, you know where to reach us: workplace chat or stop into our metaverse. One or the other.
Don't get me in trouble.
All right. Next question. I have a luxury waterfront listing, 2.5 million, but the owners request off-market sales. I would like to ask Elizabeth's advice and strategies.
Yeah,
So,
that's challenging. That's super challenging because Texas is a non-disclosure state. And so they don't have to disclose that it was sold. They don't have to disclose price or anything else like that. What I would do in that situation is I would reach out to the luxury agents in those different groups and say, listen, exactly that. I have a 2.5 I need off-market sales. Is anybody willing to share? Some of them will because they'll want you to do the same thing for them down the road because off-market is so challenging, but a lot of them won't because they don't have to. And their clients usually don't want you to disclose. So for me, I always talk to my clients, seeing if I'm allowed to disclose. I don't disclose without their permission, but you're going to have to reach out to the different luxury agents that have sold in that area, and you'll have to utilize the Travis or the appraisal districts, and you might have to go one by one to see who the last agents were and see if they're willing to talk to you about what they sold it for.
yeah. And then going back as well to the clear cooperation discussion and off-market listings, I think that anyone here that is with EXP, I think that one of the biggest resources that's underutilized, and my team's actually working on leveraging this, is workplace chat, right?
Yeah.
So one clear workaround for and I think one benefit of EXP, under one brokerage, we have 9,100 and almost 40 agents, right? 9,140 agents in the state of Texas right now under one broker, which keeps me up at night because I'm that broker. But the workaround is that you can share anything at all, right? You can share your off-market listings within the same brokerage. And I think that's one of the great things. And the best way to do that is workplace chat. And we're putting some leverage. I don't want to let it out the bag just yet, but we are really going to take advantage of that fact going forward, especially in 2023. Because it's a unique opportunity that only EXP can provide with our 85,000 agents worldwide, but 9,000 just here in Texas.
Well, and I think that's a good point because the Texas State Group is super powerful. Now, what I would encourage though is what we keep seeing people doing is, oh yeah, this house has been on the market, blah blah blah. Don't crowd it with that information that we already have access. If you have something that's truly coming soon and you're getting ready, and yes. I do the same thing. We put it out there going, hey, EXP family, we would love to keep this in the family. Here, yes. This is coming up. But don't just put all of your listings and stuff in there because then the valuable information gets buried.
Absolutely. Agreed. And we're going to have something that's completely separate just for that. So someone that, if you can't find anything on the market, let me go to this resource and see if any EXP agent has something that's off market right now. So that's kind of what we're looking at. So, so that it doesn't get buried by a bunch of other stuff. All right. One final question here we have. Do you see the luxury sellers expecting higher end marketing, such as Matterport, Siri? And I think you spoke to this some as well. What would you say is the biggest difference between marketing a traditional property versus marketing a high-end luxury property? Let me maybe rephrase that.
Well, I think expectations are pretty high, especially going into the market that we're in right now. You're going to have to do everything that's expected because we were doing all that before. Luxury, absolutely. I don't even ask my clients. I don't ask my clients what they want me to do for marketing, right? And I don't tell them, like in my listing or my pre-listing packet, first of all, I don't put a lot of information in there in case it gets in the wrong hands, meaning in case they give it to their competing agent and say, oh, look what Elizabeth's going to do. Or I'm not going to lay out all of my marketing because what if they come back and say, well, you said you were going to do this and you didn't do that. And you're like, well, it didn't really pertain to this property. So I don't put any of that stuff in writing. I have conversations, but for luxury properties, absolutely. I don't think it's a nice to have. I think it's a necessity. If you're not doing the Matterports and the aerials and the professional photography, everybody else is. So you actually have to do that at a minimum. The other ones, I don't think so much, although there's so many people. And I guess to Tony's point, EXP has such a reach internationally, right? And there's people moving here all the time. So if you have Matterports and things like that already embedded or already created, nobody's really looking at the virtual tours so much, but the Matterports are more immersive. And so if you have people in California that are moving, I've got a ton of clients from out of town. So I do that, but then I also will go do a FaceTime tour with them or what have you. But it just gives them more opportunity to look at your property over somebody else's that's not including that, because they're making it too difficult for them to see and feel the property. Does that make sense? So,
Absolutely. Absolutely does.
in my marketing, it's hands down my assistant just knows whenever I have a listing, all of that. I don't care if it's $100,000 condo, which I don't even think that exists anymore. But the only thing I don't do for my lower price points, anything like under, well, I don't even want to say that. Each property is going to be a little bit different, but under $1 million, I usually don't do aerials unless that specific property needs it. But Matterport and the virtual tour and the photography and everything else, definitely. Another thing we're starting to use more in our market. Now, what's cool is they're in any market in the nation right now. It's called Blended Sense, and they do video and photos and all these other things that you can go in and do a personal video or a lifestyle video, and then they can give you different assets if you want a reel or social media or YouTube or what have you. And so I'm starting to implement that a little bit more because it's a lifestyle now. You've got to set yourself apart from the other properties that are on the market.
And I'll give one more tip as we close out. Something that I literally just found out about. I sit on the board of directors at Metro Techs Association, and one of the things we talked about at our last BOD meeting is this really cool technology that's coming to the forefront, and I'm all over it. Our EXP agents are going to be taking advantage of this, or our brokers are going to be training on it. I think a couple of them are just finding out about it now. I haven't told them yet, but it's really really cool technology, and it's a platform that allows you, and it's got LuXury all over it. So you take these little Echo Dots, right? These little cheap little Echo devices, right? Little speakers, and you can put them throughout a home and create an actual home touring type of scenario, right? So someone comes into the house and they walk into the foyer, and then the Echo or the Alexa pops up and says, "Hey, welcome to the foyer. You'll notice that we have travertine tile, and you'll notice that the chandelier is Swartzy crystal, and so on." And then they go into the kitchen, and it recognizes the fact that they've entered the kitchen, and it says, "Oh, and you can see the quartz counters and the this and that and built-in cabinetry, cabinet lighting, and so on." So it's really really cool. It's a little creepy. It is a little creepy, but it's super cool. And it's got LuXury all over it. So that's something that we're going to be training on as well. Lindsay Holland's going to be leading the way with that. So that's it.
Freaks me out. But I will say, like, if you have things like that, we'll make little plaques or notices and say, make sure you check all this stuff out. But
they can hear your voice though, right? So you can actually speak, and you can say, "Hey," because you don't want a buyer's agent messing it up, right?
Sure.
So,
yeah, those buyers,
you sell it. It's your listing.
One thing I will tell you that I think turns off a lot of people too in the luxury market is when and I think this is ego, quite frankly, is when the listing agent requires that they be present when you show the house. Now, some sellers will ask for that. I always talk my sellers out of that though, because if I'm present, they aren't going to stay long. They want to, and their things are secure. Make sure you tell them to put away jewelry and prescriptions and things like that. But again, it's education, and you let your client know, listen, we know when somebody's in the house, they're going to have appointments that are set. It's all timed. If anything happens, we have a recourse. However, we want them to stay in there as long as they want. If I'm there, they're not going to want to stay in there very long. So I always talk my clients out of it. And I haven't had anybody push back on that. They push back, but then they kind of see what my point is, and they agree with me because I'm the expert. Now, I will tell you, I have a client that's closing next week that they almost didn't buy this house because the listing agent was there and they thought she was annoying. And she actually almost got in the way of the transaction, right? Wow. And agents get in the way of transactions all the time. And it came down to a second house, and we were going to go with this other one, but they ended up doing this one because we lost that first one, but it was because of the agent. They liked the house, and we had to talk them out of, you're buying the house, not the agent. But you don't want to be that person that comes in the way of a transaction, right? So if you at all possible can talk your clients out of not making you be there, and you can go above and beyond and make sure, even the echoes you're talking about, Tony, are making sure that you have all the upgrades and the features, shown and laid out for people, and in MLS and in the home and things like that, you can usually overcome that objection. It's not good to have the listing agents there.
Absolutely. And that's why I brought that up, Elizabeth, is that it's a great alternative. As we talk about luxury real estate, we know that some of the sellers can be very particular,
Yeah.
and some of them do want that. And this is a great alternative to that, and say, hey, listen, I'll do you one better. Anytime there's a showing, we're going to play smooth jazz or, whatever,
Right.
some classical music or whatever. And then as some folks enter into the room, they're going to hear my voice, and almost as if I'm there, and I'm going to be selling them and their agent on why this is a great, home. So I think that's it.
You're
So
making me think of like the radio DJ Smooth Jazz, and then
there
her
you go.
name, and I'm like, oh, that's so creepy. So anyway,
That's it.
somebody was asking what I said earlier. It's blended sense. With a B as in boy, blended sense. Just look them up, blendedsense.com, and they're all over the place. It's pretty cool.
blendedsense.com. So thank you so much. Oh my gosh, we're 10 minutes over. Thank you for staying 10 minutes over with us. And I got a ton of value out of this. Hopefully our agents did as well. As I said, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, certainly, and click that bell notification. Next week, I hesitate to even tell you, but I will spill the beans. We are having another luxury expert for the whole month of November. We are talking about luxury. So we are going to have an incredible guest, and I'll send more information on that next probably tomorrow. I'll start marketing on that, but we're going to have, you don't want to miss it. We're going to have an incredible individual that does luxury training all over the USA. He's one of the people spearheading it at our company as well. So more info on that. But thank you so much, Elizabeth. You've been absolutely incredible. And yeah, thank you so much. Have a
Well,
great day.
thank you for having me. I'm blessed. And if it is who I think it is next week, our branding was very similar, and we both met. We're like, wait, we have the same branding. We're not related at all, but he's amazing. So thank you for having me. Anytime I can jump on and add value, I'm happy to do it. And we're all one EXP, and we're grateful for you.